Welcome to the Owens Recovery Science Podcast, where we dive deep into all things blood flow restriction training. I'm your show host, Johnny Owens, and whether you're a clinician, researcher, or athlete, you've come to the right place. Each episode, we break down the latest research, interview leading experts, and translate complex science into practical applications. We're here to bridge the gap between laboratory findings and real-world implementation. Welcome back to another Owens Recovery Science Podcast. This is Johnny Owens. I got the illustrious Kyle Kimbrel back with me, and it has been a minute. Kyle, do you still know how to do podcasts?
No, I had to do a little refresher yesterday.
A refresher. Did you hit record? That's all that matters.
Did you hear the little lady's voice say, "You are being recorded"?
No, all I hear is the voice in my head telling me how amazing I am. So I didn't hear. Anyways, sorry it has been so long since we put one of these out. I've got some texts from people, even emails like, did you guys stop doing the podcast? Are you still alive? Is Owens Recovery Science done? You had a good run? So no, we haven't. It has been so freaking busy. And so part of it is we are doing a ton of stuff right now that's going to just really drop in start of this coming year. Is all I like to say to Kyle, Q1. We will be having a bunch of things course-wise. We have a bunch of new programs and even some cooler stuff beyond that. So podcasts will be rolling out. We'll probably even have more frequent podcasts starting in early next year because we have a huge list of topics we want to hit. And so that doesn't mean we don't have courses already up and ready to go. So if you guys want to check out our courses, go to Owens Recovery Science. We have our blood flow restriction courses. We're about to drop with the gentleman we brought on today, a course that I'm maybe more excited about than ours right now, Kyle. And then we also have our POCUS course, point of care ultrasound, which, dude, people love that course. I'm so jealous because I think people like Stephen Ramsey more than any of us.
I don't know. I think he pays them.
He's so likable. Like I said, at CSM, he drinks espresso martinis. So I was a little worried when he ordered that. But he's a good dude. He's amazing. He like knows his stuff. And I just wanted to throw this out because it just happened this week. So someone, one of our certified providers, took his POCUS course. And his course, what's amazing about it, you can take a point of care ultrasound course, and it's typically like, here's how to measure muscle and and it's more just MSK. He is, so versed in it all. He also teaches all the safety. And one of the things, if you listen to our VTE podcasts for the new clinical prediction guidelines we did with Ellen Hillegas, she was just talking about you guys should look at doing compression ultrasounds and other safety checks with people you might be worried about doing BFR on. This clinician who just took his course had a patient come in, swollen knee, primarily on the posterior side, thought it was a Baker's cyst. He's like, it seems a little weird. I just learned this new technique. And so he did a compression ultrasound and picked up a big old DVT and was able to send her to the emergency department. It was confirmed, and the ED doc called back to him and said, dude, I think you just saved this lady's life. Like, this thing was massive. And so we're going to write this up as a case. I don't know if we're going to publish it, but I just want to get it out there. He said, feel free to use it. So I'm going to touch base with him and Steven on it. But again, cool. That is badass to have that tool in your tool belt. And then, by the way, I can also go in and get all these objective measures, measure vascularity. Steven and I are presenting with Al Gurovich, who's the director at UT El Paso's physical therapy program at CSM, on using ultrasound with BFR and primarily how to measure changes in the vascularity. So if you have those type of patients, it's going to be badass. Also, CSM, Kyle, you and I are speaking.
Yeah.
Have we ever spoken together?
No, we have not.
Dude, are you nervous?
Kind of.
How are you gonna?
I go before you, so I get to I can take some
okay.
pot shots.
Okay.
But
All
the
right.
problem
Bring
is
it, man.
you got
Bring
the
it.
trump card. You like,
Yeah,
you got, I know. Yeah,
I'll be
you're
ready
so.
after you. Anyone that's on my
I think I'm
panel
going to direct it
knows.
at Larry more than you.
Okay, that's what I did last year. But yeah, Larry Cahalan from University of Miami, previous podcast guest. Ellen Hillegas, who I mentioned, previous podcast guest. So we're presenting the acute
And
care
you know what's
section.
cool about Larry, Johnny?
Nothing.
Is that, well, one thing. He won the Ellen Hillegas Award this year.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. So does that mean I get it next year, or you
I
get
don't
it
know.
next year?
Does it
All
work
right.
down the line?
Yeah. So we're doing the acute care section, and I think it was Ellen that said she wanted the title to be "Why the hell aren't you doing BFR in acute care?"
Yeah.
So it will probably get ruffle some feathers. So it's going to be fun. We have the new Delfi Gen 3 system, which still is kind of its soft launch, but it is available and people seem to be loving it. We keep going on back order. So
fast, man. It's good on the legs.
LOP,
they cleaned up the legs. LOP, it's much better.
I think based on your suggestion to the engineers, Kyle, it changed it all.
You know, technically not, but I figured out what they did. And I was like, hey, y'all should do this. And they were like, I think we did that. But they weren't really sure that they had done that. Yeah. So it was funny.
No, the LP is badass. Bilateral's badass. EMG's badass. Everything. I love it, man. The metronome.
The EMG pairs up super easy too.
Yeah.
Like I was down with a professional basketball team in Los Angeles yesterday.
Oh,
and
name drop.
I didn't.
You said professional.
You know, there's multiple, you know? So I was down there and I wanted to show them the EMG because they had just gotten the Gen 3 and I didn't realize you had to charge it. So I wasn't charged. Bro. So I had it like on the battery charging like as I was driving down because, you know, when it rains in LA, it's going to take you 2 hours to go anywhere. And so it was all charged up when I got down there. And that thing just paired up like as soon as it came on, it just popped up on the screen. You touched it and it was ready to roll. So that was cool. It was just super simple, you know?
Yeah. They dug it?
Pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. They dug it a lot. Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, that's enough of our BS. Let's introduce our guest who has an amazing story to tell and something I think that's going to really change the way we think about a lot of the things we're doing with BFR. He's also part of the ORS family now. He's director. I always get our title wrong, Tyler.
Director of Throwing Systems, something like that?
Throwing Systems. Yeah, Director of Throwing Systems.
Not throwing up systems.
Not throwing up. Throwing systems with ORS. So it's been over a year now that we've been working longer, that Tyler's been working on it. I know. So it's crazy. The only reason I remember is because of PBATS.
PBATS last year.
Baseball Athletic Training Society. So last year at PBATS, we all went down together and presented this in front of all of the teams. And everyone was like, what? This is... This is totally different than what y'all have been teaching. And since then, there's been a ton of buy-in, including with the teams. And so with that, I'm going to let Tyler continue with the story here. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Tyler White. I'm going to say what's up, and then I want to let you get into your background and the story here.
Yeah, so thank you guys again for having me on. By the way, this has been almost 3 years in the making. It was, what was it, like May or April or something of 23 is when this all kind of officially kicked off. And yeah, I mean, it was all kind of based off of a conversation I was having. So I had a conversation with a journalist named Will Carroll, who does mostly sports injuries. And we were going back and forth on the idea about UCL return to throws and why they haven't improved in the last several decades. And, you know, the topic of BFR got brought up, and by just happenstance, I was going to Owens Recovery Science BFR course like the next week. Like it was literally a week later. And I was going because I wanted to get a Delfi unit specifically for the recovery aspect of things. I work with a bunch of big leaguers, and I wanted to kind of add another tool to the tool belt to help their process, speed up recovery, do all that stuff. But the idea of throwing with a BFR got brought up, and we were both kind of back and forth going, well, I don't know if I've ever seen anything that's been said or done on this. So go to the course, have a whole list of questions ready to roll. And Ben Weatherford, being an absolute just beast of a clinician and a teacher, not, taking my questions in stride. I know it's annoying as hell when someone comes with a bunch of questions that no one knows what the answers are. And I felt bad about it. But I'm like, man, I have to ask. I have to see if there's anything on this. And, he was very, very kind and just like, hey, we don't have anything. It's not been done before. So at that point, I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to go test it. I'm going to find out myself. Do you want me to roll into the whole history of like how this started now, or do you want to piece into something else first, or because I can dive into that?
Man. You're going. Let's do that. And
I just love the curiosity piece of it. I think that's good clinicians are curious about just about anything at some level. From my perspective.
Well, that's the kind of the aspect of it is like you have all these different tools that people use for different aspects. And Will brought up that, BFR had been used for ACL recovery, and it had sped up the timeline on that. And he's like, what, why couldn't this be done for the UCL and for the elbows of throwers? And so that's where going into testing, I designed a 4-week throwing program. I did it all myself. Former college baseball player, injuries knocked me out, have some damage in my throwing rotator cuff and labrum. And so I did 4 weeks, throwing twice a week, and I just followed the standard BFR rep scheme of 75 reps over 4 sets. Throwing into a net, maybe anywhere from 70 to 90 feet, anywhere from starting out 40, 50% effort, jumping up to 80, 90% effort by the end of the study. And I literally was looking at my notebook before hopping on here of everything I've been writing down for the last 3 years and just going over my notes from each throwing session. And it's just crazy because as a caveat, I haven't thrown in 10 plus years, like aggressively, and I have non-repaired damage in my throwing shoulder. So this was a true test for me. And after about a week, I noticed that, I had some soreness, just haven't thrown in forever. Going into week 2, I'm just like, man, my arm is lightning fast, like a distinct level of quickness that I don't know that I had ever felt before. And that's when I'm like, okay, we got to keep pushing this along. Going into week 3, I'm now right there close to my peak velocity from my playing days, 10, 15 years ago, which shouldn't have happened. And that was like, that's very interesting. By week 4, I was throwing max effort throws without getting tired. And that's when I'm like, this is stupid. I don't know what the hell this is, but this is so stupid. And then I started playing around with it a little bit more, testing different stuff. I tried other devices. I was just trying to see, can we repeat this same thing? Is this just a compression thing? I was just throwing shit at the wall to see if we could find something if it was continuous. So I brought in another pitcher. So in St. Louis, I have a clinic where during the MLB season, I'll see all the local high school and college kids. Once the MLB offseason starts, I'm traveling with the big league guys. But I had a college pitcher from Mizzou come over, and I was telling him about what I saw with myself, and he's like, dude, I want to try that. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we did 2 throwing sessions over 3 weeks. So pretty spread apart. They're not continuous at all. Did the exact same thing I did, and I saved the text I got from him the day after our second throwing session and screenshotted it, and I've already put it in some stuff that I'm going to show later once this all starts coming out. But he was basically just like, dude, I don't know what the hell this is, but I'm blowing up my catch partner. He goes, I'm not trying to throw. He goes, I'm waiting till he's out past 80, 90 feet before I even try to put a little bit on it because it's just exploding out of my hand with no effort. And at that point, I was like, all right, we got to figure this stuff out. And that's when I reached out to you and Ben and everyone else. And then we started the whole process of finding partners with research and sports science labs and more testing. And it has just been a chaotic uphill, not an uphill in the sense of hey, we're struggling here. An uphill, everything is just continuously improving. Honestly, for the last 3 years. And it's been crazy to the point where, and I know I've told you guys this, I've worked in this industry for a while. I've worked with the highest level of individuals. I've seen all the training equipment and technology, and I have never seen one thing that can do what this has done multiple times over. And once other individuals start seeing it and feeling it, which they are starting to, we have a few kind of satellite areas that have gotten access to this early, that we've trained up on how to do it. They're seeing the exact same thing. And it's just going to continue to, honestly, I think it's going to change baseball. And it's fun. It's fun to be a part of it.
Careful, now. Careful.
But
Oh, here comes the darts
it's
at us.
fun.
All right.
It's fun to see. Oh, 100%. They're coming. I already know they're coming. It's novel. It's new. We don't like new. We don't like innovative. But just the beauty of it is I've been able to test this for almost 3 years now on every level of individual. I waited a year and a half before even putting this on a big league arm. And I wanted to make sure all the kinks were worked out. I wanted to make sure it was safe. I wanted to really kind of pressure test the end range of, hey, this is way too much freaking throwing. And it's all been positive. So that's when I felt comfortable getting the big league guys, and they've had the same results. It's just been, it just improves just almost every level of throwing, from endurance to fatigue to performance metrics such as velocity and ball movement. And man, I don't know. I just can't. It's like I can't feel like I can say enough about it, because I know I'm going to leave stuff off. Like there's just been so many positive things that we've gathered over dozens and dozens of case studies and several hundred individuals that have used it, and it's been fun. But it's going to waken some people up. I'll say that.
We were mentioning before we started, man, this sounds so familiar to my story with BFR. Like, okay, this thing sounds interesting. We're going to test it on ourselves and in the lab and just look at it for, probably a year and a half or so and get the safety of, kind of piece and just see. And then it's like, man, something's going on here. And then, I start talking about it. So before we even started, I was presenting on BFR before RS started, with the military. And people were just like, dude, you are on crack. Like, what are you talking about? Because there was no like BFR talk out there at all. Like, even, ever tell this story, Kyle, where the FDA people came up after my talk?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
CSM, Tyler,
CSM,
our big national convention for
we
PT.
get done, it was like my second BFR talks, like just packed room, all these people asking questions. And these two people are in the background. They look like UPS drivers. But they had a military insignia, it looked like, on it. And so they come up, and it's just probably, I shouldn't have said this, but I was like, I didn't know UPS had an army. And they're like, they flashed like a little badge, and they're like, where were the FDA? And I was like, oh shit. Like, wow. Okay. Well, this was a nice run for just a couple of years. And so they just wanted like information, and like, this just does not make sense to us. We're going to have to take this back and look at it. But anyways, you've already got we already saw someone on Instagram. Like, we've been kind of trying to.
So for those people that poo-poo the FDA stuff that, we've talked about, well, I mean, now you know why we talk about it.
Yeah. Right. They're probably long fired. They got doged probably, unfortunately. But, like, we've been trying to keep this under wraps, just, kind of doing it internally and with some of our teams and stuff like that. You've already got someone coming out on Instagram like, oh, this is crazy, this is stupid, or whatever. So that means there's probably something to it already. But yeah, dude, I love your enthusiasm, because you sound like me before I became an old broken business owner of like, dude, there is something going on here. And I'm going to echo, because you keep sending me the responses from people, and even, your guy out in Arizona who's done a lot of cool, like, kind of social for it. Like, it feels like no one has not said like, dude, my arm feels like freaking nuts. Like, what is going on? Like, the subjective I think you're batting like 100%. You see them
It's
more
pretty
than me,
close.
but
yeah, it's pretty much 100. Every single individual says around the same thing.
Crazy.
Which is insane, because you don't see that with any sort of intervention in any of our fields, whether it be chiropractic
placebo,
or PT,
but I mean, there's also
there's
it's starting to be objective measures to back this up as well.
Yeah.
So let's like roll back the tape here real quick. Your background, and just kind of tell us like, okay, college pitcher. I know you already mentioned that, but you're big in the baseball world, like, the people, I mean, it's like Cy Young type guys and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about you, your facility, all the stuff you've done in the baseball world, just so people know you're not just some hack.
Yeah, so by trade, I have my doctorate in chiropractic, but I really just used that. And I knew going into, like, once I got hurt, I basically laid out every profession possible that allows me the most availability and opportunity to do what in my brain needed to be done to help people like that went through the same thing I went through. So picked the chiropractor route because it allowed me enough open opportunity for all the manual therapies, needling, whatever you need to do, imaging. That was the one that made the most sense without any kind of roadblocks. So took that route. Don't really do that, but it's mostly, I call it performance therapy. It's kind of a combination of like what you would think a PT, AT, strength coach, chiro might be able to do all in one. But it's all based around, movement, mechanics, pitch design, like anything for throwers. So like at the big league level, I only work with pitchers. Local, I'll work with just about anybody. So yeah, my thing is I work with pitchers to find where their inefficiencies are, program better movement patterning, integrate that into their mechanics. My big thing is working with guys for, not only performance gains, but career longevity, especially when you have pitchers that, non-contact injuries in the pitching industry is crazy. It's sky high, and no one really seems to have a good grasp of why. And so like when it comes to a pitcher that could potentially be making $350 million in their career, but they don't get to that free agency point to make that kind of money, it's a big deal when you break down and you never live up to that true potential. So that's kind of where I come in, find out the problem, fix it, program their stuff throughout the season and the off season, keep them healthy. And then we have, they go live out their dreams and do whatever they need to do. But yeah, I have that. I ran the World Pitching Congress, which was a conference where I brought in some of the leading experts in strength training and pitch design, mechanics, and, manual therapy. That lasted about 4 or 5 years. And then it just got I got way too busy. I was a one-man show putting on a whole conference. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So we're on hiatus. I've had people reach out to me about partnering and trying to basically redo that. And maybe in the future. But right now, especially with this coming out, like, I've been pretty busy the last couple of years, so we're going to put that on the side for now. But yeah, that's kind of the background. Big thing is working with pitchers, and it's really all I do. So that's the thing is like I wake up and go to bed, and all I'm doing is researching or practicing or testing, and it's only baseball. That's my only passion, realistically. Like anything else, don't give a shit. But like baseball pitching specifically, that's all I have.
All right,
That's
man.
sad.
So you're
I'm
a
sorry.
baseball geek. You and Kyle can hang out, and I'm the least of the baseball guys here on this thing. So you guys start throwing around terms, and I'm like, anyways, I'll defer to you all on that. And so what's cool is we've seen you apply this, on MLB, on college, and now we're even getting, high school kids that have been testing it out and seeing pretty dramatic changes, it sounds like. But you have developed a course, and that's, like I said, it's going to be launching next year. You've already got all these privates starting to book up with the MLB teams right now. But it's very specific, this program. This isn't just like put a cuff on, and go out there and just throw the ball as much as you can. You want to get into the course a little bit without giving away all the details?
Yeah. So it basically, it goes into everything you're going to need to know how to use it in throwing. And, that covers all the safety parameters, not only just like using BFR, but also how do we do so the safety parameters of throwing with it. And then we'll go into like the workload component, and that covers everything from, how do we utilize it in things like plyo work or catch play or long toss, going into specifics of pitch design, of career longevity, of mechanical work, of constraint-based training. I mean, it's pretty elaborate. And then, we have a whole section on in-season and off-season programming. Like, honestly, I think this is going to dramatically change the way we look at workload. If we just look at how we're able to create this stimulus with less stress and less effort, I think our parameters on how we view workload is going to be changing. And then, how do we use it in the off season? How do we program it? How do we build up for the season? That's all included. And then our last big chunk is the return to throw and utilizing it on the medical side of, how can we now use this new tool, this new device to improve our outcomes, both in, strength, range of motion, performance, and time of return to performance. So that's a big one. Is like I've had several case studies in my clinic where we've had guys that were expected to be back significantly later. And then we were able to, hook them up to BFR at a low stress point, a low effort level, and gradually build them up to the point where they were weeks and in some cases months ahead of schedule. And the cool part is, like, I had one individual with a UCL sprain that was told 6 to 8 weeks no throw, which means another 4 to 5 weeks of build up for his season. And we had him back pretty much 100% at the end of the 6th week. And we continued throwing a few more times, a few more weeks, I'm sorry. And he texted me when he got back to his fall season, and he was like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. Arm feels amazing. Probably the best it's ever felt. And I'm throwing 2 miles an hour harder than my previous PR. And I'm like, all right. And that was early in this. This is probably 2 years ago. And I'm like, yo, that's a really big deal. And if we can continue to replicate that, I think it's going to make a lot of people really happy. So, in which we've multiple different cases, injuries. It's been repeating across the board. So and that's all going to be talked about in this course.
It's awesome. Yeah. And one of your guys, he sent video of I think his son, and he went like 2 to 3 miles over his PR, and he hit it like 13 of 20 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, dude, this is like crazy. Again, I don't know if that's a big deal. It seemed like a big deal. He was really excited about it. And I mean, he's getting into the high 90s, which is shit. That probably changes the game for him. That's freaking nuts.
16-year-old too.
Are you going to be his agent?
Yeah. I'll stay out of that realm.
Yeah.
Not for me.
And so we also want to put out there, you do use Delfi. And so there is a Delfi throwing system now that you had to kind of work closely with their engineers. And it's been a long slog.
It was 2 years as well.
2 years, yeah. But you want to kind of go into that. And there's important pieces like LOP, obviously. But this is like auto-regulation is something we talk about a lot. And the ability to auto-reg, and I can go deeper into that as well, is probably like really a big deal, I think, with this application. So you want to talk about the system at all?
Yeah. So kind of what I mentioned earlier, I tested multiple other devices just because I wanted to see, like, hey, can this be done with the cheaper stuff that you can get online? Like I wanted to test everything. And what I found was even some of the devices that were claiming to auto-regulate, it would take, sometimes 1 to 2 even longer seconds before it even started to adjust. And if you're throwing,
don't. They say they auto-regulate. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of what we ran into. But if you're throwing a baseball, you wait 2 to 3 seconds, the ball's already coming back to the thrower by then. I mean, you're not doing anything for the fast action of the throw. So kind of going back to what we talked about with the auto-regulation piece, in my opinion, like the LOP thing, I know we've seen that study that came out this last summer about how, like, comparing multiple devices, the Delfi was consistent across the board at rest and exercise while the others were struggling to stay anywhere close. I think the auto-regulation is 100% the most important feature here. Just because as you're throwing, you don't want to feel any sense of restriction. You don't want to feel like something's limiting your range of motion, your arm speed. And with that adjusting so rapidly through the throwing motion, you just don't really notice it. And when you use the other devices, you would feel like, shit, that doesn't feel good. And the risk of injury now, if you have something that's not able to regulate your pressure, is going to go through the roof. So, like, making sure you're using the right device that can tolerate the stresses of the throw is probably the most important fact of if you do it or not. So, yeah, 100%.
People worry about nerve injury stuff, and auto-regulation is one of the key pieces to not get those pressure gradients. And for people to know, auto-regulation is basically if you say I'm going to use, and you use 50% LOP in the upper extremity, which, right, I mean, you're using the standard. If you measure, and that's 100 millimeters of mercury, the microprocessor in the Delfi system always makes sure the cuff is maintaining whatever that pressure is, even when the arm's swollen, when the arm's moving, or whatever. It's why you see it's always trying to keep up. And so, yeah, that auto-regulation piece can keep some safety there.
It adjusts within, like, what, 1/100th of a second or something like that. It's very fast.
It's real fast, yeah. I mean, just for a Delphi plug, they have the patent on that. They're the only one that can claim auto-regulation, and other people just claim it and don't even do it. There are some lawsuits going on right now for people with false claims. Won't mention those companies. Well, we can say one, Smart Tools. It's out in the public record that for patent infringement. But anyways, you had to change the cuff up as well.
Yep. Yeah. So that was a pretty difficult aspect from the get-go. Was I was able to complete the study with the standard hardware, but it was a huge pain in the ass. The box was flying out, the cuff was ripping off. I'd have to readjust it pretty much every throw, which is, if you're throwing 75 throws, twice a week for 4 weeks, it got really annoying. So that's when, we connected, and then we would connect with the engineers over at Delphi. And basically I just lay out like, hey, these are our pain points. These are our problems. Let's see if we can't design it to look like this. Let's try to make it do this. And over 2 years, and probably I think I have about 5 or 6 different beta models, like in my cabinet, in my clinic, we finally found what I feel like is the perfect combination. And now there's a left-handed and right-handed cuff specifically, and there's 18-inch and a 21-inch. So we have a little bit wider cuff for a little bit bigger arm. Generally, that's going to be more MLB guys that have that type of arm size that you'd have to worry about. The majority, even within Major League Baseball, the 18 is perfectly fine. But then we added an additional hose attachment on the cuff, so it gives us more space. It also changes the stress point of the cuff or of the hose as the arm is rapidly moving into acceleration phase. And then the new clasps, so we have new clasps that actually interconnect, so it doesn't pop out without kind of actually detaching it. And then we had some issues with, I had a handful of 100-mile-an-hour arms I was working on in the off season, and one of them got really sweaty. And what would happen was that cuff would slowly slide down the arm. And I'm like, we can't have that. So we found a way to work Velcro into the cuff, which adheres to the cotton sleeve, and problem solved. We don't have that problem anymore. There's probably 5-ish new iterations we had to do to the cuff to make it work. I guess the one I'm leaving out too is the new hose, right? So from 9 or 10 feet was the previous one. Now it's 17. It allows you the freedom to move around, do whatever you need to do, and there's virtually no limitations. So took a while, but we're now to the point where it's ready to roll. So
there's a lot of emails and texts back and forth. That's for sure. Like, okay, broke another. Yeah, no, it's badass. I think it really seems dialed in now. So thanks for all that hard work on that. And again, it's like, well, why is it tethered, or why do you have a hose? That's where you can only auto reg if you do that. So that's why it's there. But I've seen all your videos and testimonials from people. It doesn't seem like people are having issues like using this. I mean, looks like they're freaking humming it. So have you seen a problem, like people are tolerating it and can go through their biomechanics pretty much the same?
We've seen like mechanics actually improve. And now that I think we've had a few more like clinics or like training facilities have access to them, I'm getting more feedback, and they're telling me the same thing. Like I had our clinic facility just purchased one recently, and they've been starting to implement it with some of their guys. And they got probably 2 high school kids that'll get drafted here in the next couple of years, like some pretty elite arms. And the head pitching guy came in the other day to me, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, this is legitimate cleaning arm paths up. And I've heard this from multiple people, but he comes to me to the side and says the exact same thing I'm hearing from all these other groups. And because that is one concern I've heard from individuals, is we're worried you're going to mess up their mechanics and you're going to screw up all this other stuff. And it's like, hold up, let's actually look to see how this works. And it has been improving the arm swing. It's not as long, it's more short and compact. It actually times up with the sequence better. And the beautiful part of it is, like, we're training these motor patterns and we're training these movements, and it's able to continue when the cuff is off, right? That's the thing, is like, it's not just it only works with the cuff on. It's like we're actually building this up and it sticks long term, right? And that's the thing where so far everyone's been incredibly impressed that has been the outcome. And that's just one of the 15 different things we've seen this thing improve. But yeah, the mechanic side it's been really positive. I think the one thing that impressed me the most was, I started building this course, I'm going to say 2 years ago. One of the things, I had a bunch of theoretical stuff that I didn't have the opportunity to test at that point. We have since tested every single one. We have case studies on them, and they all have come true. But the one that I think was the most profound to me was the idea that seeing how it's like used in some older population, and that we're able to see like an improvement in muscle protein synthesis and fast twitch muscle fiber activations, all these things in older individuals. I was like, why can't this work for veteran throwers? Age 28 and on, we start losing velocity, we start losing performance. Why can't we see that as well in that class? And we didn't really have a good test study to prove it on, because most of the older individuals are, they're pretty prominent big league arms, and they're about out of their their sport. So there's not a big group of individuals we could test that on. Well, that was where the John Hazinga over in the Arizona group was testing it. He's 46 years old. He's got 2 pins in his elbow. He has like next to no end range extension. Like he can't move his arm worth anything. And he's still trying to pitch. I think he pitched like 8 to 10 years in the minors and bounced around independent league ball. But and he a lot of people know him. He's worked with some pretty elite arms, and Terry Skubal is one of his guys. He's back-to-back Cy Youngs. He clearly knows a thing or two about pitching. He texted me and was like, hey, because he'd been throwing with the cuff on. He'd been throwing it on the lead leg and on the arm for about a month and a half. And he texted me and said, hey, just want to let you know, I threw in a men's league game last night. I'm normally hanging after I throw anything at all. He goes, I'm wiping with my left hand for 4 days. And he said, I told him I got 30 pitches max, maybe 2 innings. And he goes, 7 innings later, I'm cruising. And he goes, I didn't even feel like I threw. And I was like, go on. He's like, so like normally I'm like 82 to 84. He goes, I was like 88 to 90. And he goes, next day I had like a 2 out of 10 stiffness. I had no, it's like I didn't throw. And I was like, that's when I text him. I'm like, I'm going to go fly out there. We're going to record this, and we need a testimonial for that, because that is profound. Like that's it. That was a piece.
Video of that, too.
It was awesome, right? So, and that was their video, guys, really good too. But he texted me again about 2-3 weeks ago, and he goes, I threw in another men's league game. He goes, it was humming out of my arm. I threw to Jack Wilson, who was a former big leaguer for the Pirates. His son, Jacob Wilson, was, I think, runner-up in Rookie of the Year this year. And he goes, 120 pitch complete game. I'm like, what? He's like, I didn't feel like I threw. No story. I'm like, all right, there it is. Like, there's our proof of the pudding that we can definitely have an impact with those older populations, maintaining good range of motion.
That's crazy. Like, I don't know if Ben told you, he had the same thing happen. So
yeah,
he said he threw like 300 pitches or something after he had been doing it with the BFR, and next day he's like, my arm feels perfect. Like I don't feel anything. It's like normally, I'm using my left hand to wipe, type of thing. So that's a cool thing. Like if you recover quicker, that's huge in a sport like MLB.
For those people that hear 300 pitches and they just heads blew up, it's to his 10-year-old son.
Yeah.
That is through batting.
No, it was through batting.
It's not nothing. I'm not saying it's nothing, but it is definitely.
Let me add to that.
Older, I mean, he's young, but he would be in that upper 30s range.
Yeah.
So he's like, my arm is so sore after I'm throwing batting practice.
Oh, yeah.
So when I shot the video and some of the media for the course we were putting together, I had a college pitcher come in. And I told him, I said, hey, you're going to probably throw more than I would ever want you to throw. Signed a waiver, gave me the okay, said, let's do it, whatever. And we shot probably 30 videos. He threw around 220 to 240 moderate to high effort throws with the cuff on, doing various drills. And I'm telling you, we shot so much. And in my head, I'm like, man, he's going to be hanging tomorrow. Like, I feel really bad. And I text him, I go, hey, man, how's the arm doing? He goes, I don't feel like I threw yesterday. I'm like, what? And, I actually tested that myself. Was once I started to like really see where's the end range of this. I set the BFR to max time, 30 minutes, and I made as many high effort throws as I could make, full effort, run and gun into a net to see what would happen to my arm. I was willing to sacrifice my arm to see what kind of our pain points were. and I got up to like 220-ish in that range, which no person in their right mind would ever do. But I'm like, someone's got to test this because there's going to be some idiot to go out and try this. And I got to make sure no one's going to get hurt. And I felt fine. I felt normal. I didn't feel super sore. I mean, I felt a little bit, but like I could have gone out and thrown that next day and been totally fine, which is, again, it's unheard of. It's crazy. Like it's not just me. It's not just that. There's so many people that are telling us the exact same thing.
Yeah. And I think I want to make sure we frame this well because, and you did, Tyler, but just in case our listeners are going, whoa, they just said to throw 300. No, this is
Please do not.
what we're saying to do.
Yeah.
The point is that pain that you normally would feel from throwing wasn't there. Well, if pain is less, that means mechanics don't change over time with these throwings. That means you can kind of get back to doing some of the things that are going to help you recover and be prepared to throw another time.
If 3 or 4 days later, you're like, dude, my arm's amazing. Even if, the next day, we keep hearing people like, my arm feels great. I mean, that could be a slippery slope. Like, okay, no, let's have these guys throw more. But do you see it like being used in a bullpen, like to shorten that warm up? I don't know baseball.
Yeah, 100%. And that was part of our study at Point Loma, which will hopefully get published here before too long, where we looked at it.
You had a year, Point Loma. You've had a year.
June of 24 is when we conducted the majority of it and finished up.
I'm going to be down there
August.
tomorrow. If I need to crack the whip, you let me know.
Are you at Point Loma?
Yeah.
I'm going down there tomorrow to watch some soccer. Yeah, buddy's kid plays soccer for them.
We'll go by the lab.
I don't know that they'll be open, but that would be cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cool lab. Partnered with the Padres. But yeah, we looked at readiness, looked at the ability to warm up, and we had the BFR on and plyos, some catch play throws, and then some throws on the mound before throwing a bullpen. And it was maybe 15 to 20 throws with the baseball. I think there was maybe, I can't remember the exact number on the plyos, but it wasn't a lot. But we were basically able to show that, under significantly less throws to what a typical warm-up would be, we were basically able to mimic what a long-form warm-up would be with the exact same results and subjectively. Like, I'm still curious to see all the mocap data, but subjectively, every individual said their arm felt more loose. It felt whippy. It felt like lightning quick, which means, less effort to have to put in to try to throw the ball hard. And, a handful of individuals even went up in their velo 1 to 2 miles an hour in that setting compared to their controls because they came back and we'd do the exact same process under a control. And, I think, this could definitely be used in a bullpen. Say, hey, you are going in the 7th. It's the 6th inning. Go throw a couple throws to the BFR on, get hot. It's going to take less effort, less force. It's going to be quicker. And I think it's going to give you a better result. Same thing before a game. If you're, getting warmed up, getting your arm loosened up before a start, like I think that could be a very valuable tool to do so. Like there's just been so many applications that we've seen that this has improved inside of the game of baseball that I just haven't seen before. And that's another good one is like the warm up. And it's not pitching specific, it's positional. I've had catchers use it to warm up. I've had outfielders use it to warm up. Infielders throwing from the hole, throwing in weird spots, like just getting the body ready to do that action. Or, say you have that one play in the 8th inning with a runner on third where you got to make a play, your shortstop's got to make a play in the hole and you got to make a jump throw. Like we can work that in to get the body ready to do that so that it's as ready as it possibly can be, if not better, in terms of like coordination and effort and everything else for that individual. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, even beyond baseball, like you're now starting to do it with quarterbacks. And
we've seen quarterbacks improve. Yep.
Too. Yeah. I want to try and get into mechanisms. That might be, I think we're like, whenever, that was the biggest question. Okay, why?
Yeah.
Any other, we got the Point Loma stuff going on, and we always love to get studies going. Any action on like MLB grant side or whatever? I know there. Did you hear that? Kyle, this is what's such bullshit right now. Like, it's always about me. And Tyler and I are presenting, I forgot what it was like there's an MLB thing, virtual. And there was some MLB like
PBATs,
team
spring training kickoff.
Yeah. I do my piece, fucking crushed it. Tyler comes on. Okay, here's, Tyler's got this thing. And then at the end, okay, any questions? Yeah, I have a question for Tyler. I have a question for Tyler. No, not one question.
Nothing for you,
man.
Johnny?
Nothing at all, man. It was all Tyler,
man.
dude.
I'm sorry.
Broke my. I'm not going to present anymore.
I'll give you
this guy. So everyone's excited about that.
I'll give you an extra hug when I come to town.
Yeah, someone from MLB that kind of drives grant funding. So I know there was some interest.
Yeah, Dr. Gary Green, medical director for Major League Baseball, reached out and said, "Hey, this is a great idea. I'd like to help with funding." And we've talked to the group at Point Loma, and we're setting up application forms, and that'll be kind of on the horizon. I've already talked to some MLB orthopedists on board. Love the idea. Luckily, I have a really good one here in St. Louis, Dr. George Paletta, who has loved everything he's seen. He's gotten to see kind of from the same side where we've used it in the same cases of individuals we've worked on. And he's on board. He loves it. So, he's going to definitely be helping out with that once that gets rolling. And I'd say in the last couple of weeks, I've talked to 4 or 5 pretty prominent sports science labs and researchers about conducting more research on various different things, just to try to get some more, literature out there. People are excited. And I think it just takes time to show the results before people are willing to be like, okay, there's definitely something we got to look into here.
I think it's the same thing. Like we're going to have enough anecdotal and like, okay, this seems to be doing something. People's arms aren't falling off. Because early on, Tyler, we were talking with some pretty big academic institutions with good teams, and they were just like, yeah, we talked to the coach, and they said, hell no. Yeah, hell no. We were just like shot down left and right, even from some good friends. I'm like, seriously, bro? You couldn't like push a little bit? So, yeah, I think as we get buy-in, that's where we'll start getting research going. So, mechanistically, what do you guys think? Like, I'm going to throw out like chronic training with this. I think the angiogenic response and that whole bullets in your, what was the phrase? Like
bullets in your gun.
Bullets in the chamber. You're able to just like throw more balls because you do just have better vascularity. And that was an interesting thing. That little video I sent you guys, like I didn't know pitchers are throwing less over the last decade.
Yeah.
Like, significantly. That's a big drop. So if there's an endurance piece, that seems like it could be huge.
Some of that's just how the game has evolved, not so much what pitchers are capable of. So I think that's could be kind of misleading if you're just like looking at numbers like that. But also like this is the reality. And I think Tyler and I even texted about this. One of the things that happened during the World Series was Yamamoto for the Dodgers threw a complete game in the division or the league championship series, and then throws another complete game in the World Series, back-to-back complete games in the playoffs. Hadn't been done in like 20 some odd years. And Smoltz, who I personally can't stand as an announcer, he was a phenomenal pitcher. He's a really good golfer. He needs to stick to those things, in my opinion, because he always has an agenda when he talks. But he's very much against the pitch count, the use of pitch count to help regulate throwing. And he's like, Yamamoto is revolutionizing pitching tonight. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, he's at 90 pitches in the 9th inning. No manager in their right mind is pulling this guy out, Mm-hmm. So it was, and then of course, in the next game, I think he came out in the 5th or 6th inning, because he was up around 80, 90 pitches in 5 or 6 innings. So that's the just how they use the bullpen has kind of shifted. So but the point is, to Tyler's point is, if you can maintain velo, if you're performing well, you're going to go deeper into games. And if this could help you be more prepared for a game and help your performance over the duration of that game stay uniform, then you do revolutionize pitching. You do see people throwing deeper into games, and that potentially does change. Regardless of whether you're coming out of the bullpen as a middle reliever or you're a starter. The only position that might not matter for longevity would be like your closer type position, but all those other spots.
Well, and then going back to the endurance piece with my angiogenic, in about 4 weeks, you should probably see a response. And these guys are doing it pretty consistently, and just have increased capillarization. That's going to be huge for feeding the muscle and also clearing out metabolites and things like that. So I think that's big.
And there was a paper showing like chronic throwers, the the blood flow is less in their arm, right? Wasn't that one something that just came out recently out of Japan, I believe? And so we might see that as a potential, it's a very real target, just because that is an adaptation that happens over time in these throwers. I kind of think about like the Parkinson's piece, Johnny, with Annie and the restless leg syndrome and all that stuff that her subjects were feeling better from. It could be a very well kind of a similar sort of scenario. Yeah.
No matter what, muscle needs nutrients.
It needs blood.
Yeah.
Needs oxygen.
And it not only during the game, it brings oxygen, but then it brings protein for, recovery. So if you can perfuse it, I mean, that alone would be freaking huge in this population. If actually, their muscle to capillary ratios are lower. What other mechanisms? I threw up the PAP thing, and Kyle was all poo-pooing that on.
Well, I just think there's a lot of problems with post-activation potentiation. Yeah.
There's been some more studies come out on the whole PAP idea using BFR out of Japan recently. They are showing like that there is an increased recruitment of force using it in a kind of a pregame warm-up setting. But I do think like the motor unit recruitment is a massive piece.
Yeah.
And
that's probably one of the main ones, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if you look at like the
get
throw,
a central and everything.
I was just going to say that, I mean, Brandner has that paper from way back in the day on the arm where they saw, what was it? I forget what they called it, but it was essentially like increased mean excitation potential or something in the cortex.
Yeah.
So you see it,
So you're getting it centrally and kind of at a local level as well. So that's a nice 1-2
mean
punch.
excitatory potential.
That was a long time.
That was a long time ago.
I don't even see anything from Chris anymore.
Yeah, he hasn't. Yeah, not much recently. Yeah,
reach out to him. Anyways,
yeah.
Other mechanisms. There's a potential proprioception piece, like you're just getting a massive proprioceptive thing with a cuff on your arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
kind of squeezing.
I think fast twitch muscle fiber activation
those are kind
too.
of the only things. Yeah, it's interesting. This is one of those we know those mechanisms happen. There could be something that we just don't even know that's going on as well. But whatever it is, it's working for sure. This is going to be a thing. I mean, we might get some pushback and other things, but it's going to be a thing. We can tell just by the amount of players and now teams that are like, okay, sign us up. So,
yeah, the results have just been too profound across the board.
Any other parting shots or thoughts here with this?
Well, I think we have not really talked safety at all. And I think anybody that comes to our podcast is going to want to know that. So, my curiosity, Tyler, would be, have you had any oopses, any adverse events? Like, what has your experience been? I mean, you put it on hundreds of people.
Were you nervous putting this on a multi-million-dollar arm? The first
time?
I
mean, it's the...
No, I wasn't. By that point,
I'm talking about yours, Tyler.
Yeah, I wish. At that point, there had been probably over 100 individuals tested to various levels, from throwing for 6 to 8 weeks with it on, or throwing high effort throws, bullpen. Like I had tested so many things. At that point, I was not nervous at all. I think going into like the safety aspect of things, that was probably my most prominent concern for the first like year and a half to 2 years, where I'm just like scouring every single research article I can to figure out like, is there anything that I should be concerned about? And then when you start to read all the data on like nerve conduction velocity, and you start to see the results on like potential risks of stroke and how it's really not much of a factor, especially when done correctly, especially when you have a device that takes care of a lot of the safety aspects of it, then, that would get less and less, so that to the point where I started testing it on things where like I had, multiple people with TOS, and let's see how they respond. And the overwhelming majority responded very favorably. And ulnar nerve issues, ulnar nerve instability, guys that have either had a transposition or were scheduled for one, across the board, positive results. There was no issues, no setbacks. And I'm like, man, I think that was probably the craziest thing. Like, as I started seeing results, was I would have individuals with like some type of pain in their elbow or their shoulder, either coming back from an injury or, 8 to 12 months post-op, still affecting them. Like if they'd start ramping up to throw, they'd have pain. and within their first 10 throws with the cuff on, they would have virtually no pain whatsoever. Like I have multiple videos of guys I'm recording because I know what's about to happen. And, there'll be 7, 8 months they've been dealing with posterior shoulder pain after the slap tear. And they'd make a throw and then look back with a real big smile on their face. And I'm like, no pain, huh? He's like, dude, I don't feel anything. And I've had that from elbow, shoulder, like so many other issues. And that one I can't fully grasp yet, outside of maybe it's a motor unit recruitment thing and we're offloading stress to those areas that they're commonly overloading in the throw, is where my thought goes. But the thing is, across the board, it has been consistent. And I'm just like, haven't seen that. That's a new one for me. That one surprised me for the first probably 2 years. Now it's like I almost expect it.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that's the slippery slope. Like, we're using high-end medical grade LOP auto-regged, and if you get some person that just buys an Amazon strap and straps it on, and next thing you know, I mean, a narrow strap where you got a higher risk of nerve damage, and it's not auto-regulating, so it starts getting more and more pressure, and then pressure spikes. That could be where we're like, oof, okay, now we're starting to see a problem. So that's kind of what we've been talking about this and a little scared. That's why we've been slow rolling this a bit as well.
I mean, I would flip that too and say, even just taking away people's pain, sometimes people think, oh, I'm fixed, I'm back to normal, now I can do it just like I did before. And like I would say, just because you're feeling that way, like you still have to scale what you're doing based upon
100%.
where you are at currently. Let's be smart about this. Don't think you're just where you haven't been able to get over 30 pitches or something in a ball game. Now you should go through 100 because you feel so much better. Like that's a big spike in what you're doing, and that is what leads to injury. We know that. So regardless of how well you feel after this, make sure that you have integrated this well within your training program, which Tyler, you've obviously done plenty of. I've seen what you've done.
Very robust.
You've got lots of spreadsheets and things that help you do this in kind of a logical manner. And that's something that you can come pay Tyler for when you take his class. It'll be great. Yeah. You should do that.
We're all excited to go take it. I mean, you've been seeing it more intimately than I have, Kyle, but I can't wait the lab's just going to be cool. And that person on Instagram is like, BFR is only for low load, slow exercise. It's like, it's not actually. I mean, if you go do BFR with a bike, I mean, that's a pretty, it's a real cyclic motion. You're moving pretty quickly. Our Antidote, our Special Forces program, those dudes are huffing it on the bike with BFR. And that's been run through and ramped through with no issues at all. So there's rowing with BFR studies that are published with improvements. And so it's not like a movement like this is like, oh my God, your arm's going to fall off. It's terrible, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're going to cause a clot or nerve damage. We're already doing kind of faster movements with this, with published studies without issues. Have you seen any adverse events yet, Tyler?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, you brought up the TOS piece, Tyler, and since it's been out there for a while, but there was a lot of conversation, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago around using BFR on throwing arms, specifically because of the concern over TOS. And when we were looking at that and kind of going through, it's like, man, just the notion that compression distal, would piss off TOS is not even a thing. That's from that double crush phenomenon kind of theory, but really looks like that's kind of a red herring. Crazy enough, like when they've studied like belief patterns in the double crush phenomenon, it heavily affects physical therapists. Like something like 87 to 90% of physical therapists believe double crush phenomenon is a thing, and it drops below 50% when you get to pretty much any other practitioner.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild. It was wild. I found an epidemiological study looking at it.
Well, then those same people went to, the hypertrophy though. If you hypertrophy it, then you're really, it's like, so you don't want these shoulders to get
it's not indiscriminate. We're not giving you anabolic steroids, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they can't lift weights.
And then it would be, you'd still be concerned like with it in the scalene region. That's where it's going to happen. But I think the other piece to that, in kind of thinking about it, and just, I mean, because in the end, like, I hear that stuff and I go, okay, well, I want to break this down. Like, what do I know? Like, what rationale is there for that to happen? To piss off the nervous system. Well, it could be like this double crush thing. Turns out that's not really a thing. The other side of the coin is, well, how often do we see people coming out of a ulnar nerve, or excuse me, like a Tommy John surgery or an ulnar nerve transposition, and having a pissed off TOS from a tourniquet at full occlusion for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, however long it takes to do that. Like, if throwing for a few minutes with BFR at a 50% limb occlusion pressure is going to piss off a TOS, then you should see some incidents. In fact, a decent incidence coming out of the surgical world in people that already have pissed off systems. And you don't even see that. You see some nerve problems after like UCL, but that is highly dependent upon, it's about 12% of the time, but that's highly dependent upon the surgical procedure used. In particular, whether or not, how much they're having to work around the nerve and split the flexor tendon and all that stuff. So from that perspective, the TOS side of things, it just doesn't look like there's reason to be concerned.
50% LOP is lower
so
than
small.
Small.
Yeah,
and then
it's like a hug.
It's like an arm hug.
Hug.
The wide tapered cuffs too. I mean, these things have been manufactured over decades in the surgical world to make sure that we aren't having any nerve issues. And so, all right, so safety is put to bed. Good. Let's go.
Good job.
And move on.
Well done.
All right.
Well done, all.
Well, Tyler, man, this is exciting. Like I said, I'm just all the buzz that I'm getting, not just from you, but from people who've already purchased. People are purchasing the systems, and are already starting to use them in across leagues now. And the feedback we're getting is pretty crazy. So, you and Ben are going to be. You're not going to be there, right, Kyle? PBATS.
I won't be at PBATS. No.
So you and Ben are going to be at PBATS with all the teams. So this year you get to actually say, the course is done. There is a unit ready.
Yes.
I can only imagine you're going to be a busy boy this coming year.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be at the winter meetings. Ben and I'll be at the PBATS demo, whatever situation they have going on. And then I'll be speaking on the PBCS or PBS CCS side, the strength side, in the morning that same day on that Friday of winter meetings. So I'll get to kind of show a lot of this stuff kind of in action. Yep. So it'll be a fun-filled day down in Orlando, Florida.
Do you have any other conferences lined up? I know you already spoke.
Top of my head, no, but I'm sure that'll change.
Okay. You just did I don't know what you spoke at. It seemed like a pretty big
Sabre seminar.
Yeah.
Sabre,
yep.
Yeah.
That went really well. I had a lot of
presented this there.
Yep. And I had a demonstration, had Eno Saris, rider for The Athletic, come do a demo for me. And I got a video of him just like laughing as he's doing it. He goes, pitchers are going to love this. He's just like shocked because he had some shoulder stuff and he's like, I don't feel anything on my shoulder right now. I'm like, how are you trying to throw hard? Like I was having him kind of get a little higher effort. And he's like, I'm bringing it and I feel nothing. He goes, guys are going to love this. I'm like, yeah, there we go. So it all went really well. It was fun. Had a lot of shocked faces, but I had a lot of people reach out, tell me how well it went and how excited they were for some of the stuff coming out. So it was all good stuff.
So, we right now just have private courses lined up. If you are an organization or someone that wants to set up a private, reach out to Owens Recovery Science, info@owensrecoveryscience.com, and we can definitely, as much as Tyler's schedule allows it, get those privates set up. But then we will be rolling out open courses will be available in the coming year, time permitting.
If you want to take it, send us an email because that way we have an idea of
if you're interested
where people are interested, then we
know,
can seek out host sites.
We can't just do this like in a clinic. It has to be at a baseball setting.
We're gonna be throwing.
Yeah. And then
we're doing in LA,
maybe
though.
even hitting.
Los Angeles. Yeah, maybe hitting.
Shit. And
I didn't tell you
Delfi.
guys. I don't even have my unit right now. I loaned it to a couple of MLB brothers who are legacy MLB, and one's in the big leagues. One just recently got drafted, and they're doing some hitting stuff for me because I've seen a lot of positive stuff on the hitting side, which I I don't have enough data to talk about it on the I guess on the
Taking
more
my
excessive
golf
end.
simulator next week. Damn it.
Let's just say we're seeing some pretty positive results on the hitting side as well. So look forward for that coming out.
All right,
Nice.
man. And also the Delfi throwing system's available. So if you're already BFR certified, you can reach out to us, or if you're just interested, reach out. And there is if you have a system, there is just a cuff set that can adapt to it as well. So just want to throw that out if people are interested, but don't just go do it. Make sure you are getting with Tyler to understand the protocol and the program, because it's pretty in depth. It's only taken 2 years to build.
2.5.
All right, man. Well, this is badass.
Tyler.
We've been waiting and waiting to put this out, so I'm glad we put it out. You're our first kickoff for the podcast season is back.
Hell yeah.
So appreciate you, Tyler. This will be dropping here shortly.
Next week.
Yep. So
Little Thanksgiving episode.
all right.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, brother. We kept you too long. Go get back to work, damn it.
Right. Yeah, I know, right? I got work to do.
All right. Appreciate you, man. We'll be talking soon. Have
all right,
fun
guys.
down in
Thank
Orlando
you.
with
Bye,
Ben.
Tom.
Okay, bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Owens Recovery Science Podcast. Before we go, a quick reminder that the information discussed on this show is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your treatment or training regimen. For show notes and additional resources, be sure to check out owensrecoveryscience.com. And don't forget to like the show and subscribe for more evidence-based insights. Until next time, earn your deflate.